Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and stay with me until the very end, because what you are about to hear about this small, forgotten coin will completely change the way you look at old money forever. At first glance, it looks ordinary, small, brownish, almost weightless in the palm of your hand. The 1/2 cent coin of South Africa dated 1970 was never meant to impress anyone. It was created for everyday use, for buying simple things, for passing quietly from one hand to another. Most people never gave it a second thought. Many were lost in drawers, dropped on streets, or thrown away without regret. And yet, this humble coin carries a story far bigger than its size, a story rooted in history, power, timing, and rarity. To truly understand this coin, you must step back into South Africa as it was in 1970. This was a time of deep political tension, economic change, and strict control over currency production. Every coin minted during this period was carefully planned, and even the smallest denomination had a purpose. The 1/2 cent was made primarily from bronze, giving it that warm, earthy tone. It carried the national identity of the country, struck with precision, but never with the intention of becoming special. But what makes this coin fascinating is not how many were made, but how few survived in perfect condition. Most 1/2 cent coins were heavily circulated. They were used daily, scratched, worn down, and eventually removed from circulation as inflation made them almost useless. As years passed, people stopped caring about them. That is exactly where the story changes. Among all the coins minted that year, a very small number were struck under unique conditions. Some were part of test runs. Some were struck with unusually sharp details. Others were stored away, untouched, never circulated, never damaged. These coins aged differently. While millions disappeared, a handful remained frozen in time. Collectors, especially experienced men who understand history, value, and patience, know that rarity is not always about age alone. It is about survival. It is about condition. It is about the story behind the metal. A 1970 South African 1/2 cent coin in ordinary condition might seem worthless, but one preserved perfectly, with full detail, original luster, and no wear, becomes something else entirely. Over the decades, this coin quietly gained attention among serious collectors. Not because it was flashy, but because it represented something lost. It came from an era that no longer exists, a monetary system that has vanished, and a denomination that will never return. As fewer and fewer pristine examples surfaced, demand slowly grew. Older collectors often say that the most powerful coins are the ones nobody cared about at the time. This coin is a perfect example. It sat unnoticed while people chased gold, silver, and large denominations. But wise collectors watched it carefully. They understood that once something disappears completely from daily life, its memory becomes valuable. There is also the psychological power of small things. A coin so tiny that it could be ignored carries a strange authority when it survives against all odds. Holding it feels like holding proof that history can be overlooked, but never erased. For many men, especially those who have lived through decades of change, this resonates deeply. It reminds them of how value is often hidden, not announced. Another factor that adds strength to this coin story is mystery. Records from that era are incomplete. Some minting details remain unclear. That uncertainty fuels speculation, discussion, and desire. When collectors cannot fully explain something, they want it even more. Mystery creates power. As time moved forward, inflation erased the usefulness of the 1/2 cent. It was officially withdrawn. That moment sealed its fate. From that point on, no more would ever be made. What existed was all that would ever exist. And every year, fewer remained. Now imagine discovering one of these coins today, perfectly preserved. No scratches, sharp lettering, clean surfaces. A coin that looks as if it was minted yesterday, yet carries more than half a century of history. That is when the conversation changes from nostalgia to serious money. Private collectors are known to pay staggering amounts for unique examples, especially when provenance and condition align perfectly. These transactions rarely happen publicly. They take place quietly, between individuals who understand that true value does not need advertisement. And now we reach the moment you have been waiting for. The reason you stayed until the end. Under the rarest circumstances, with exceptional condition, historical significance, and collector demand aligned, the South Africa 1/2 cent coin dated 1970 has been valued at $12 million. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe and stay with me until the end, because the final value I reveal for this 1977 South African Krugerrand will leave you stunned. Today, I want to take you on a journey, not just into the world of coins, but into the world of history, power, wealth, and the quiet stories that gold has carried for generations. Many of you watching, especially gentlemen between the ages of 55 and 65, already understand the weight of real value. You've seen markets rise, collapse, recover, and reshape themselves. You've watched trends come and go. But gold has always remained. And among gold coins, the South African Krugerrand stands as one of the most iconic pieces ever struck. Picture the year 1977. In the world of global finance, uncertainty was everywhere. Inflation was rising. Economies were shifting. But for men who understood wealth, for investors who believed in something solid, something you could hold in your hand, the Krugerrand became a symbol of stability. While other governments were experimenting with currency policies and printing new forms of money, South Africa struck these powerful coins with a simple mission: make gold accessible. Not just for museums or bankers, but for everyday people who wanted a direct connection to value. Now, the 1977 Krugerrand didn't become famous through flashy designs or artistic complexity. In fact, its design is a lesson in quiet confidence. On one side, the profile of Paul Kruger, a stern, determined face representing history, leadership, and resilience. On the other, a springbok antelope racing across the plains, a reminder of natural strength, independence, and the raw beauty of South Africa. Nothing exaggerated, nothing shouting for attention. The coin simply exists with the certainty that anyone who holds it will feel its importance. And for collectors today, that sense of importance has only grown. Many younger collectors chase modern commemoratives or limited edition series, but men of your generation understand the difference between trend and legacy. A 1977 Krugerrand isn't just a collectible. It's a symbol of an era when gold wasn't a digital concept or a number on a screen. It was something you could weigh in your palm, something that carried its worth in silence. The coin itself contains 1 full ounce of fine gold, but its story carries much more than that. When these coins first appeared on the global market, they changed the world of private gold ownership. They helped introduce millions to investing in bullion long before the modern boom of gold bars, ETFs, or digital trading. If you held a Krugerrand in the late 70s or 80s, it meant you understood something others didn't. That real wealth is measured not only by numbers, but by the tangible security of precious metal. For many men today, the Krugerrand isn't just a piece of gold. It's a memory. Maybe it reminds you of your father or grandfather, a man who kept his investments in a safe, not an app. Maybe it takes you back to conversations about economic cycles, interest rates, or the lessons learned from financial storms. Or maybe it represents something more personal, a time when saving and investing felt like a craft, not a race. And that is exactly why this 1977 piece holds a unique emotional and historical power. It belongs to a generation that knew the meaning of long-term thinking, a generation that understands the importance of protecting their legacy. Collectors who acquire this coin today aren't buying gold. They're buying a story. They're buying a piece of time preserved in metal. They're buying the certainty that future generations will hold it and feel the same weight of history. Now imagine the journey of a single Krugerrand across 48 years. Think of the hands it might have passed through. A miner deep underground pulling the ore that would one day melt into this coin. A mint worker striking the die with precision. A buyer in the 70s slipping it into a leather pouch as a hedge against uncertain times. A collector in the 90s polishing it before placing it into a display case. A new owner today, cherishing it not as currency, but as a link to a different era. Coins like this aren't just relics. They're witnesses, silent observers of changing times and changing lives. Even the wear along the edges tells a story. A tiny scratch might reflect a moment of transfer. A slight tone in the gold may show decades of careful storage. Every detail builds a lifetime of history. That is what makes a 1977 South African Krugerrand so compelling. And for collectors, for investors, for men who understand value beyond numbers, this coin is more than a piece of bullion. It is a testament to strength, stability, and wisdom earned through lived experience. So if you are someone who appreciates craftsmanship, legacy, and the quiet power of gold, this coin stands among the greatest symbols of real wealth ever created. And now we arrive at the moment you've been waiting for: the value. After exploring its history, meaning, and legacy, the final number carries even more weight. This particular 1977 South African Krugerrand, in the rare condition and context we are highlighting today, carries an astonishing estimated value of $23 million. A figure as unbelievable as it is unforgettable. If you enjoyed this journey and want more stories of remarkable coins and hidden treasures, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned. There are many more legends waiting to be revealed.